Hi, fangirls, and welcome to It's a Fangirl World vlog. This is where we share our love for all things Disney with a little added girl power pixie dust. I'm Kim, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most popular attractions at Disney parks around the world, Soaring.
And I'm Steph. In our last vlog, we talked about the Epcot International Food and Wine Festival. So if you missed that, be sure to check it out on our YouTube channel at the end of this broadcast. On this vlog, we're going to focus on a different Disney topic every episode, from parks to movies and beyond, all while celebrating contributions by amazing women that have helped to make Disney what it is today. You can expect tips, updates, and more, all by fangirls for fangirls.
And for our fanboys, too. A quick shout out to those of you fanboys who are also watching our episodes. Thanks for joining. If you like what you see today, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you never miss a vlog, or leave us a comment and let us know what topics you'd love to hear more about.
And if you want daily fangirl fun, head on over to our Facebook page down below and give us a like. We post content there every day, and we always encourage our fangirls and fanboys to join on in. Now, on to our topic of the week, Soarin'.
Yay! One of my favorite attractions. Here's some history on Soaring. The original version was technically called Soarin Over California. It was an opening day attraction for Disney's California Adventure at Disneyland Resort in Anaheim, California. And later, that same attraction was brought to Epcot in Walt Disney World under the name of just Soaring.
Yeah. Because they didn't want to highlight the fact that they were in California. They wanted it to feel a little bit more global without, refilming. So this ride is also one of my favorites, and it provides a hang gliding simulation experience by using an enormous Omnimax screen that's curved around the ride vehicle, and a cantilever seating system that was inspired by Imagineer Mark Sumner's childhood Erector set toy. And they really plussed this experience by adding in special air, like air jets blowing at you, and scent effects to contribute to that suspension of disbelief so that you truly feel like you might be flying. It's also got a pitch perfect ride score, and I love this score so much I listen to it like on a loop while I'm working sometime. It's very inspirational and uplifting.
I listen to it a lot as well. In 2016, a new version debuted called Soaring Around the World in Disney California Adventure and Epcot, and called Soaring Over the Horizon at Shanghai Disneyland. There's no word on the official name, but this version of the attraction is currently under construction at Tokyo DisneySea.
So while this ride experience is nearly identical in the 3 parks that it's in now and eventually the 4th park in Tokyo, the final scene of the film is now specific to those parks. So when you're watching it at Epcot, the final scene is Epcot. When you're watching it at Disneyland, the final scene is Disneyland. It used to just be Disneyland. There's this Shanghai skyline in the Shanghai version, and we'll see what they do for Tokyo. It'll be something iconic, maybe Tokyo Tower or something similar to that. Or maybe Tokyo Skytree. We'll see. We'll see. So in Disney's California Adventure, it's in an area called Grizzly Peak Airfield, which used to be called Condor Flats. Now, this is a land that is really devoted to history of aviation and how that connects to California. It's very like rustic and outdoorsy, and that gives a sense of kind of adventure to the ride. So even though all of these rides are the same experience inside, the queues, the surrounding lands, they really give a different flavor to the ride. At Epcot, it's located in the land in Future World, and the queue is more like almost like a commercial airport kind of feel, and there's all of these scenes of beautiful nature, so it's almost like you're going on like a nature travel expedition. In Shanghai, it's located in Adventure Isle, so it's more like that's the equivalent of Adventureland over in the Magic Kingdom or at Disneyland Park, and it's more like adventure and daring. It's located alongside rides like Roaring Rapids that are a little bit fantastical, in addition to having that adventurous spirit. And at Tokyo DisneySea, it's going to be located in the Mediterranean harbor. And the ride vehicle actually, even though it will be the same mechanism, it's dressed up a little differently according to the concept art. It looks more like it's like a Da Vinci Renaissance kind of idea. So I think that's really interesting. And even though that actual ride experience is the same, it makes you feel totally different getting on each of these rides. Of the ones I've been on so far, Disneyland's my favorite.
I've only been on the one at Epcot, but it kind of seems neat to think about the theming for all the different parks of how they used it, and it almost makes you wish that they would actually do something different with the ride itself, so that it's really encompassing the feel that they're giving you for that, you know, particular queue and attraction itself.
For sure. Now, thinking about the ride itself, there are two camps of thought. People who love the original Soarin' Over California version and people who love the new Soarin' Around the World version. Now, we're going to talk in this vlog about what the good of each version is, what the bad is, and then we're going to give you our own opinions on which one we like better and why. But first, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what the lineups were. The original lineup was so in the ride, if you're not familiar, you are lifted into the clouds and then you soar over various scenes and you transition from one scene to the next and you see all sorts of different things as if you're hang gliding across a whole bunch of different landscapes. So the original Soarin' Over California lineup showed the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, which is very iconic of California. You get to see all those like beautiful mountainous, vineyardy kind of regions and the water. It's lovely. Then you go to Redwood Creek in Humboldt County, where you saw people kayaking through a beautiful river surrounded by pine trees and pine scent, and it was lovely. Then you are soaring up in Napa Valley over the vineyards with the hot air balloons. Then you go to the Monterey Bay Sanctuary and see fishing, or they're not fishing boats, it's a conservation area, but boats in the water, rocks and waves crashing, and it's very like blue water, blue sky, very picturesque and serene. Then over to Lake Tahoe, and then to Yosemite Falls, which was actually very cool because another hang glider in the video comes past you and you go up this huge waterfall. Then to the PGA West Course in La Quinta, which is just credited usually as Palm Springs. It is, I guess, the Palm Springs region, what people think of golfing, right? And then Camarillo and the Anza Borrego Desert State Park, where we saw a plane. Is it a fighter jet, Kim? I don't know what it was. A cool military kind of plane, like past you. And then on to San Diego to see the USS John C. Stennis at Naval Air Station ship. Then to Malibu Beach, where you saw a whole bunch of surfers. Then to the traffic and skyscrapers of downtown Los Angeles. And then finally to Disneyland Park in Anaheim, where you soared over Main Street USA up to the castle and into the fireworks. Well, one of my favorite parades of all time, the Disneyland Christmas Parade, was happening up and down Main Street at nighttime with all the lights, and it was just beautiful. So, Kim, what do you like? What do you not like about this Soarin' Over California version?
I really love Soaring Over California.
Me too.
I don't. For me, I think my favorite part about it is that I knew it. Like, I knew each scene and when they would come and the smells associated with it. And I knew at the Palm Springs golf course when they hit the ball that the Mickey head would fly towards you. I mean, like, I just knew that. And it felt, even though it wasn't really that old of a ride, it just felt very nostalgic. Just the smells and the sounds and the soundtrack. And I listen to it now and I just replay it in my head. So I like that I knew that ride. It really felt like you were flying. Like, it's the first experience I had with that, because I don't like heights. So this was the first time that I had the chance to get on it. I actually skipped it. The line was really long, and I was like, I don't even know what that ride's about. It's inside a building. How could it be any fun? And I skipped it. And then the following year, I got on it, and I was like, I have no idea why I ever skipped this ride. It's my favorite.
I loved it too. And I mean, there's a lot of cool things that over the year I picked up about the different scenes. And maybe there are these kinds of cool tidbits about the new version as well, but it hasn't been around long enough for the information to kind of leak out. But so you were talking about the Mickey on the golf ball in the Palm Springs scene. The golfer there's actually Michael Eisner. And there are a bunch of other different things, like when they're in the desert and they have the plane go across. There's also some people, I'm not sure if they're mules or donkeys or what, but there's people like hiking and like hiking with donkeys, and they had to like time that very specifically because those people had to hike for days in order to get in there. In Monterey, they had to, one of the boats that you can see in the water is there to make sure that the animals are being protected while the filming was happening, because it's a conservation space that doesn't usually happen. They had to get special permits from Yosemite to be able to film there for a few hours. And just all of these different little things that I think make it so special. I'm pretty sure one of the things that I heard was that the plane, it was like the last flight for the pilot who was piloting that, and like that just like pulls at the heartstrings. So I also grew up on the West Coast. I'm very familiar with California. It really felt like home to me. That was my home ride. Now living out on the East Coast and going to Epcot, I felt like that homecoming kind of feeling.
I also felt like, because it, you know, it kind of paid tribute to the original park. So I felt like it's paying tribute to Disneyland. So it was really neat, you know, flying over Disneyland at the end of that.
I've probably been on Soarin' Over California 100 times or more. And every single time I cried at the end, when as soon as it because you're like rushing past all the traffic in LA, and then all of a sudden it's like Disneyland, bawling every single time, much to the embarrassment of my husband or my parents or whomever happened to be with me. But I would say it was probably my favorite ride of all time, all things considered. So
really,
I hope now that they have several of these around and they all have multiple theaters, I hope they've kept the film reels, because maybe they could bring it back for like limited time engagements, or I could see sometimes them doing like theater A is the new version and theater B is the old version, and people could pick.
That's what I was hoping, kind of like, you know, Mission Space. We have the green and the orange, and you get to pick which line you're going to go into, and you could either be in the I don't care, get me on the ride line, or you could pick a specific line. I really wish they would do that. They will put it into one of the theaters.
Or even if it was seasonal, like the way at Disneyland Park, how they do Ghost Galaxy for Space Mountain, or Haunted Mansion Holiday, or It's a Small World Holiday. It would be cool if they did something like that. So one can hope. But I just loved Soarin' Over California.
Miss it. And you know what? I don't think
I can't think of a bad thing about it.
I know, that's what I was just trying to think. And here's what I'm going to say. The only thing, and this would happen no matter what, I mean, it's still, I guess, I don't know how they're projecting the new version, but the film gets, you know, it gets stuff on it, it gets dust on it, and just needs to be cleaned more. And that's just a matter of just, you know, care and cleaning, and that's the only thing.
I'm interested if you and I notice that, because we go on it so much and we love it so much and we're looking for these things, and if a casual park goer would notice. Fangirls and fanboys, if you ever noticed this and it was a problem for you, or if you never noticed it, let us know in the comments below what you thought if you noticed the dust on the screen sometimes. So that's the worst thing that we can say about that.
It's the worst, yeah. And you can clean that so that you can fix that.
So far, this sounds like Kim and I really love the old version, which doesn't mean we don't like the new version. Now we're going to tell you all about the new version. So in the lineup for Soarin' Around the World, or Soarin' Over the Horizon in Shanghai, You start off at the Matterhorn in Switzerland. Then you go, oh, I apologize in advance, people of the world, if I butcher the names of icons in your home country. Please feel free to correct me in the comments below because I would love to learn more about your language. So you go from the Matterhorn in Switzerland to Isfjord in Greenland, then to Sydney Harbour in Sydney, Australia, with the the big opera house that is what people think about when they think about Sydney. And like little fish in Nemo. Then Neuschwanstein Castle in Bavaria in Germany, which is actually, I'm gonna give you some fun Disney facts as we go through this. That is the castle that inspired a lot of Walt's fairy tale things, and certainly that inspired the castle at Disneyland Park. And going back to the Matterhorn, the opening scene, there is Matterhorn attraction at Disneyland Park. So I think that's a nice little tie-in. Then you go over to Kilimanjaro National Park in Tanzania. See a bunch of safari animals doing their thing. And then to the Great Wall of China. Then to the pyramids in Egypt. Then to the Taj Mahal in India, where they actually could not get permission to film, and the entire scene is CGI. Spoiler alert. Most people that I've met did not know that until you tell them after. So I apologize if I ruined that for you, fangirls. Then we head to the West and East Mitten Buttes in Monument Valley in Arizona in the US. Then to the Lau Islands in Fiji, Iguazu Falls in Argentina, the Eiffel Tower in Paris, and then, depending on where you are, Shanghai, Epcot, or Disneyland. So, good, bad, ugly. I'll start with something good, unless you want to.
I mean, you can start with good, and then I'll say my good, and then we'll move on.
I do really like that there are, and I assume that the Imagineers chose these places for specific reasons other than the fact that they're very iconic global sites, but reasons for tying into Disney. I assume they chose Matterhorn when they could have chosen a lot of mountains because of that tie to Disneyland Park. Sydney Harbour in Australia, it has that nice Finding Nemo connection. They're in Australia. They do the whole Sydney thing. Castle in Germany, Kilimanjaro Safari at Animal Kingdom, Kilimanjaro National Park, Great Wall of China could be a Mulan tie-in. The Iguazu Falls in Argentina looks a lot like the waterfall that you see in Up that Carl and Ellie had always dreamed about visiting. Eiffel Tower, Ratatouille, little Remy. So I think that those are nice, and maybe those other ones that do not have a direct tie-in, maybe those are properties that Disney could be in development, working on projects that will eventually tie into those. That's all my own speculation. I don't have any Imagineering insight into this, but that's how I'd like to think of it.
I like that. That's a good way to make the connections. There definitely seems to be connections there. Disney never does something accidentally. There's a lot of purposeful, meaningful things, whether we know them or we assume them, but there's definitely a lot of purposeful choices in what they do. Here's my good part. I really like flying over these locations that you normally can't fly over. I mean, you can't swoop down onto the Great Wall of China. You can walk on it, but you just can't swoop down onto it. So just having these moments like where you're on top of the Great Pyramids, I mean, you can't do that. So that to me is really cool.
Yeah.
It still incorporated the smells, which is great. The soundtrack is very similar. It's not exact.
It's inspired by the original, and it takes out certain portions of the score and incorporates them, but it's
still different
for this. Again, maybe it's just that I've had a lot of years of being attached to the old score. I don't like the new score quite as much.
Yeah, and I agree. I just haven't. You know what? I have a recording of the old score, so I listen to it, but I don't.
Yeah,
haven't been able to get used to it. But all right, so for the bad, okay, here's my bad. I hate how it's digitized, and I don't like to use the word hate and Disney kind of in the same context, but it drives me nuts. And you have to sit in like the one perfect seat so that the Eiffel Tower does not look like,
Yeah.
I mean, I have like, the closest I've gotten is it barely bends, but every seat I've sat in, it's warped, and I don't like that digitized aspect to making it so warped.
So for those who are unfamiliar, the seats are about 30 or 40 seats across the theater. So you're being inserted into this curved OmniMax screen. If you're in the dead center, you are seeing things from the camera perspective. And if you're on the edges, you're in the edge of the bowl, so everything kind of curves around, and it doesn't look quite right. This may have been a problem in the old version too, but in the old version, you weren't, with the exception of really Disneyland Castle, you weren't focused on a man-made structure. It was just like, look at the desert, look at the mountain, look at the vineyards, and it was just these sprawling landscapes. So if they did kind of do like a convex concave thing, I don't think it was as noticeable as when you're looking at a building that is supposed to be straight up and down.
And just about every transition in that is that one icon or item focused, so it's very, very noticeable.
Into the Eiffel Tower, you swoop in from the back right up into the Taj Mahal.
And the tower's like leaning back, and even the pyramids too.
Something that I really don't like about the heavy digitization in this is in the original version, you were just looking at a scene, and then all of a sudden, the next frame, you were in the next scene. It was very quick. I don't even want to say that it was elegant. It just like happened so fast you didn't even know. It was blink of an eye kind of thing. Now with this digitization, they have inserted transitions between everything that look really staged, because they are, and they look really fake, because not necessarily that they've done a bad job with the animation of, say, if it's an animal, but because it's like there's no way you timed that to happen. So when you're leaving Kilimanjaro National Park, an elephant looks at you and flicks his trunk up with a bunch of dust. A cloud of dust sends you into the next scene. As soon as I saw that, I was like, there's no way that the elephant did that. And up until that moment, I was soaring over all of these different animals, and I was thinking how much it's like the Lion King, and I was like so excited, and I was like, it's so cool that they found a herd of animals doing their cool animal things. But then they threw that elephant in, and I was like, you just animated all those animals. I'm watching an animated movie here.
It's the same way with the whale when it splashes down. And I mean, you can suspend disbelief, and you can say, "Oh, look at it! It really is," but it's not, and you know that in the back of your mind that it's not real, and then you're like, you just tried to pull fast one on me.
Absolutely, and if this was my first Soarin' experience, I think I would love it. I wouldn't think anything of it, but knowing that the original version, they had all those things, they had like mountain climbers who were hanging on their ropes for hours just waiting to get that real shot. I'm a big, I like practical effects as opposed to special effects. Special effects used sparingly where they really need to be used. Like in the original Soarin', I'm pretty sure it was a special effect to get that Mickey ball, that Mickey on the ball just so, right? But that was just like a little touch. That's why I like what they're doing with the new Star Wars trilogy, because they're using so many of those like costumes and puppets and practical effects as opposed to the prequel trilogy of CGI, dude.
CGI land. Now, I mean, it's kind of cool. Technology's cool, so there's nothing wrong with CGI, but when you're, looking at the original, very minimal, versus the new, and it's heavily digitized, there is a difference, and you don't always, I don't know, I feel you don't always need that. You don't always need to digitize everything.
Yeah. Something else, I mean, when I travel, I love seeing landmarks. Like the first thing I did at Paris, I dropped my bags and I ran to the Eiffel Tower. But I feel like I can see these like easily on a postcard, easily on the internet. Something that I loved about the old Soarin was it wasn't really pointing you towards something like that, and you were just free to like enjoy the like look around and like the desert's so beautiful. This orange grove is so beautiful. And now it's just like the camera wants me to look at the pyramid. I guess I will look at the pyramid. And when I wrote it last time, I very consciously tried to look around and see what else was happening other than just the thing that they were pointing me at.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that because I hadn't really thought about that directly before, but it's so true. When you read in the original, you were kind of looking like, what can I see? What can I notice? And it was almost a different experience each time because you could really notice different things about the scenes. And the new one, you can't, it's like, oh, Eiffel Tower. Oh, there's the Great Pyramid, but I'm not even noticing what's around. All I can picture is being on top and the main part of that.
Yeah. Here. So, I mean, I guess if you haven't figured it out, viewers, Kim and I are both in camp original Soarin. But I know that there are a lot of you out there who are in camp new Soarin. So please put in the comments, tell us why you love the new Soarin, what your favorite parts are. We still love Soarin. We still get fast pass. It's still one of the best rides at Disney. But, you know.
Yeah, I still love Soarin' no matter what. It's just I prefer old Soarin'. I want them to bring it back.
Now, we mentioned earlier this is one of the most popular attractions in each park. And now that WDW has added a third ride feeder, the waits are better, but it's still one of our top Fast Pass picks. If you caught Kim's live video a few nights ago, you would have seen that she talked all about how she always gets Fast Pass for Soarin'. And I do too, unless I'm getting a Fast Pass for Frozen. So
gotta weigh it.
But I always go on it no matter what. If I don't have a Fast Pass, I'm there rope dropping it. And I've had very good luck rope dropping it, walking straight on, and then walking on and having a 20-minute wait. So kicking off on the morning with back-to-back Soarin' followed by Starbucks.
That's exactly the order I do it in.
So that's not a bad first hour in the park, guys. Single rider lanes are available. Are they available at WDW, Kim?
I don't think they're available there. They merge later. Like they'll ask when you're waiting in line later. They'll ask for 2s or 1s, but they don't have just a dedicated single rider line yet.
In California, there is a dedicated single rider line, and that's why I've been able to ride Soarin' 100 times, because nobody ever used that. So my family and I, we would go at least once a year, often more than that. And, you know, we all loved Soarin', so we just ride it again and again and again and again. And we never had any problem. We never waited more than maybe 15 minutes to get on. Because of that single rider line. And we were old enough. I was an older teenager. My brother was a younger teenager. So we were old enough to ride on our own. It wasn't like one of us was a 6-year-old and you can't let them ride on their own. But if you're in a park that offers a single rider line, I don't know if they have one in Shanghai. They probably do. And I expect to see one in Tokyo DisneySea. My suppositions about the Asian parks are based on the fact that I know that they use a lot of single rider lines there. So definitely look for that, because it would be a great time saver.
Definitely. We can't wait to see what our fellow fangirls think about Soaring. So if you've been there, feel free to share your comments below. And if you haven't, what are you most looking forward to?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you know, don't ever skip Soaring. Don't be like I was at the very beginning. If you've never tried it, you have to try it. Don't be afraid if you're afraid of heights. I'm afraid of heights. This is not a big deal. And if you're really scared, sit in row 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, row 3. And that's the lowest one to the ground. So you'll, you know, won't be as high. But don't skip it. Don't ever, you know, you got to give it a try.
It's amazing. It's a must-do attraction. And I really like that it has like a tiny bit of a thrill element to it without being scary or fast or going through loops or anything like that. It's a calm, family-friendly thrill.
Yes, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
In our Fangirl Spotlight today, we're going to highlight Imagineer Marnie Burris, who was the project manager for bringing Soaring to Walt Disney World, and later was the executive project manager for My Magic Plus. She has an amazing career trajectory with the Walt Disney Company, from her days as an intern to becoming a director of project management. She even led projects in the development of Shanghai Disney Resort and recently completed overseeing Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout in California.
I wonder if that means she's going to be overseeing the new Guardians attraction coming to Epcot. That would be pretty cool. Thank you so much for joining us today on It's a Fangirl World. We're going to be back in a few weeks with our next vlog, so remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss it.
In the meantime, watch our Facebook page where we post new content and connect with our fellow fangirls every day, and we'd love to see you there.
We sure would. We also do live videos over on Facebook every other week, the week that we don't post our vlogs, so be sure to check that out because you might catch us live. And if you want to show off your fangirl pride, our TeePublic store has everything from tees and hoodies and onesies to notebooks and stickers and mugs and device cases. And we have some pretty cool designs for fangirls, for fanboys, for all the fans, really. So check out the link right here. And if you get a shirt or anything, be sure to wear it on your next trip to Disney and take a picture and send it to us, and we'd love to feature it on our Facebook page.
If you enjoyed this show, please ask people to share, give our Facebook page a like, or go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss a vlog. And don't be shy, leave us a comment. Let us know what topics that you'd love to hear more about.
Until next time, keep living the magic, fangirls. Bye.
Bye.